What's going on, people? It is the 23rd of June today, 2025. It's currently 1 o'clock, and like always, I always have an idea to make a video. And I always think, oh, this is a good idea. This is a good idea now to make a video. And so here I am making the video. It's been 23 days since I started applying for jobs. The reason being, which I explained about before, but I'll explain again, because I wanted to be able to work full time, 6 or if need to 7 days a week, which seems like that's going to be happening. Um, Ideally, I wanted nights or mornings, but now I've got late evenings to be able to have enough time throughout the day, 9 to 5, the times that, well, it maybe even 8 to 5, the times that housing association operates, agents operates, to be able to obviously build the rapport. We'll get a housing association on side and then find the property, and then to be able to work later on to be able to have enough money to be able to fund the property when it comes along. So yes, I'm going to be working a lot, 7 days a week, and I had a I had to think. Like, my mum spoke to me about that. She was just like, because she doesn't like the idea of me just working necessarily like hard for like when you could do 5 days a week or something like that. But I had to even say it into myself so I don't get into that mindset of like uh or feeling sorry for myself or something like that. I know why I'm working these 7 days a week. Yes, it's going to be hard, but it's all temporary. Do you know what I mean? I've got a plan, and I actually need to reorganize my plan now because um just because of obviously the dates moved to the 23rd, well, moved to basically like next month now, and the idea of like the properties might not necessarily make £500, might be a bit less, maybe like £400, but um basically it's all going to be temporary anyway. So I'm not necessarily going to be working 7 days a week for more. Well, I can't even say I hope, because this has to work. It is going to work, because there's nothing. If I just keep constantly doing this every single day, every single day, every single day, then I have to make it. I have to achieve, especially when other people in my group are showing the success, and there's loads of other people out there so getting success and stuff as well. So by next year, I said by next year April, not because it was my birthday, but because that's how it worked. I was planning to get 10 properties on £500 a month, but next year, and I'm gonna make a specific date. I should have reached my goal of 5k a month, and before then, maybe when I'm making 2k a month or 5k a month, I mean 3k a month, I can start to drop down to part time and think, okay, well, the money I'm making is covering the cost of the hours that I'm thinking, and I can use that time to be able to get more properties, because with this, it's not necessarily about continuously finding housing associations. It's just finding one that's hungry, can be able to do a good rate, and that's able to scale quickly. Sure, I might be able to get more than one, probably am, but that's how it is. But yeah, so I managed to finally get a job. I'm actually in a bit of a predicament because and this is what annoys me. I applied for so many jobs on Indeed. I applied for over 200 jobs on Indeed, and probably one or two, maybe three got back to me, right? In the early days when I was thinking about doing 9 a.m. shifts. But then when I was looking for evening ones, no one was getting back to me, literally no one. And it was only when I decided to call up. I called up two places. Well, I called up all the Shells and BPs and stuff like that, and they asked me for an interview, and so did BP. So it was like it was the calling that really did the thing, and that's what I wanted to do in the first place anyway. But a lot of people always say, "Oh, just go online, just go online, just apply online, mate." That's the last thing I'm doing, because I need to stand out. Do you know what I mean? If I'm calling, then that's just easy for them to be able to pick. Like, yep, sound. Do you know what I mean? So the predicament that I'm in is that Shell, they're both really nice people, really nice managers. It's pretty much the same thing. The BP is like a Greg's BP, but they pay weekly, they pay a bit more, and obviously they're giving the hours that I want, like the full time hours. Whereas Shell, they're only giving part time. They're only giving part time hours, and it's paid monthly. So the problem is now is I've got to let one person down. I've got to let Shell down. Um, at first I thought, because BP wanted me to do weekends, and obviously Nando's will work weekends. So, but I managed to message my manager, and she managed to grant the ability to be able to do Sundays and Wednesdays, which they said, is fine. You can do those days, and those other days you can come BP. And I said, okay, that's completely fine. So I have to let Shell down. I have to let them know that unfortunately I'm not able to work for you, and it's I just feel bad, upsetting people, but it's like I have to do it. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to come across like this guy necessarily in public, but since I'm right here, talking to the camera, I might as well just be honest and just be like, yo, I wish I could be this hard guy that's like, oh yeah, well, you got to piss a few people off. Do you know what I mean? And not everyone's, but it's like with me, it's like they gave me the opportunity to come down there. They gave me a shirt. They spent the time training me, and now I've got to let them down. But the best thing to do in this situation is just let them know instead of ghost them. um, Talking about that, my VA, my VA has been, well, she's been good, sort of, because she's been managed to be able to book 2 meetings for me, and she understands it. And unfortunately, now she decided to leave because she's had to take off days. Well, it's been about 5 days now. It's only been 3 weeks, because something to do with a baby. She has to look after him, which is completely fine. And I'm really glad that she let me know and she was honest with me, because I was actually going to have a talk with her today about basically that situation there, because I completely understand. Obviously, she has to do with a baby, but there's days where she has to work half days or thingy, and I can't do that. Do you know what I mean? I need someone to be hungry for this. So I was actually going to have a conversation with her. So it's good that obviously she's take that weight off my shoulders and she's done it herself, because she said I'm unable to do it. Also, to the fact, as I found out, going on Soho, I actually pay for the recorded calls, and I didn't notice that I can actually see how many calls she's making. So on Monday, when she's putting in she's making 30 calls, she's really only making 8 calls. So again, I didn't want to come across like a mean person, but I had to. But I knew I would have had to. Not mean, just being honest. But it might come across mean. Do you know what I mean? That person, that manager that you always say, oh, fuck's sake, this manager, man. Do you know what I mean? I had to become that person, and I'm starting to realize why. The managers are who they are. Like obviously some are just dickheads for no reason. Some are just full-time dickheads. But it's like, if they're constantly in that position all the time, constantly hiring people, they just want to be straight and honest, and it comes across like it's being mean, but they're just being truthful. Saying you're making 30 calls, 20 calls, and you're making 8 is ridiculous. And plus, I'm glad again because it showed me who I need to become and what I need to say. The things I need to set for him. What I said was good, but now I know I need to say, you need to make this amount of calls, you need to get this amount of meetings, you need to do this. Holidays, I need to sort that. You can take after 3 months, we could talk about holidays or something like that. And if you really need to put time off, that's fine. But if you take more than X in a month, then we're gonna have to talk about it, stuff like that. Like, and I can go cheaper now because obviously I was paying her $3.50, and then other people talking about, oh, pay man $2.50, and they're getting 4 meetings, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not actually true, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, people are paying less and these teams are getting meetings. So, I just thought $3.50, but I can get it cheaper. So, all these things, I'm glad she taught me. She's able to leave now on good terms, which is amazing. Um, one thing that I'm, one thing that I'm, one thing that I need to do is, well, now I need to get another VA. And so today's Monday. Tomorrow I've got the 1% club, so I'm going on the 1% club tomorrow. And I wanted to do 5 hours of training today just to get my mindset thingy. I don't know what I want to be able to. At first I wanted to be able to go for the 1% question. I think that's what everyone wants to be able to do, to make the 100 grand, not the 1% question, to actually make the 100 grand, or the prize pot, or even take the 10K if I get to that position. But after doing these like few ones, mate, I'm thinking, Ras, past 40%, bro, it's getting hard. Do you know what I mean? Some 90% questions I'm getting wrong. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna go regardless, because I'm happy. It's an experience. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a bit nervous about, is he gonna take the piss out of me and stuff? But no one actually really gets taken the piss out of, and everyone forgets, and it's just an experience. Of course, there's that weak part of my mind saying, oh, that anxiety is coming back out from how I used to feel in school when you're in situations which you feel like you can't necessarily leave. Look, that if I'm feeling that way, that means I need to do it, because if I let that give in to me, then I'm just going to be the same person I was in college, and I'm what I am, and I want to be a completely different person, and you know, don't want to be put in those situations. Again, how I felt in college about anxiety and stuff and therapy, that's a whole nother story. But mate, let me show you these shoes that I got today. So, what you know about Skechers? The shoes that breathe, yeah? My shoes are absolutely fucking... No, not my shoes, bro. My feet are absolutely fucking hurting when I'm standing. I don't know how people do it. I'm typing it in. I'm on Reddit. How do people survive 8-hour-long days on the feet? Bro, it's hard. I don't know how people do it. So I think one of the things was my shoes, and also the fact that I'm not used to it because I'm doing it weekends. But if I'm going to be doing this 7 days a week, I had to get some shoes that breathe. Do you know what I'm saying? So we'll see how these work. They're about, 60 quid or something. And I kept saying to myself, I need some black shoes, and so I got me some Vans, just some professional ones, some look nice. They were about £100 altogether, and with me, it's just like I just hate buying things. Like I just hate if it's not spent on the business or something like that. If with me, it's just like, oh shit, do you know what I mean? But I need to give myself the ability to be able to go out and purchase things, and yeah, about the money and stuff, but the money will come back, and it's not like I'm necessarily spending like a whole wad of like a bank out or something. I did just get this computer as well, but obviously this computer is kind of necessary. So, but yeah, I'm glad I got these shoes, and something about buying two shoes in one go. I'm just thinking, Raz, who do I think I am? Do you know what I mean? But I'm glad, man. I think what I do need to get as well before the end of 5 o'clock is a shirt, like a checkered shirt, to be able to wear. Because when I would go to these networking events stuff, I want to look professional. Of course, I did get my jumper, so I'm going to be wearing that all the time. But yeah, this is just a little way to treat myself. But other than that, that's basically what's happening. There's a few things I need to be able to do. But now that when I start this job, but I'm working 3 to 11, my VA is going to be constantly going for housing associations, and I'm going to use that time myself to be before 3 p.m. to be able to get the house associations, do the important task as well as those tasks because I have the time for it. And then, when I get, because I've got 5 criteria, I don't want to keep going on, but I've got a criteria of 5 that housing associations need to meet, or ideally I want them to meet to make it make sense for me to go out and work with them. Which is obviously, do they pay rent? Are they looking to scale? I mean, pay rent up front, deposit up front. Are they looking to scale? What type of properties, and what is it? Did they cover the compliance? Did they cover the furnishings? Basically, all the upfront cost, and if they're looking to scale, so that I know, okay, well, it's not necessarily going to cost me loads, because if it does, and they want, like this one of them wanted me to pay the deposit, 2 months rent up front, and all the compliance, all the furniture, and I'm just like, bro, that's going to be too much, and they're only paying LHA rate. Do you know what I mean? So rate is one of them as well, because although I completely understand it, that's not going to work for me, because I'm spending. And I get what they're saying. They're saying, oh, the landlord takes theirs, that rent to rent is hard. They don't understand, and it's completely fine, so you have to let them know. But it's like, the landlords aren't necessarily going to do all that. Yeah, you're going to take care of the maintenance and guaranteed rent, but they're just going to be like, nah. Do you know what I mean? If they're going to have to put all that shit in, plus it's LHA rate, which is hard anyway, because you got to go down. I need to make a profit, but that's what's going on so far. Thank you so much. Hopefully, pray for me that I get the 100 grand tomorrow. Yes.